All right. And that brings us to Second Amendment news update, the part that I know most of y'all have been waiting for. Sorry to get the boring part out of the way with all the news, but let's settle in. Big news, Department of Justice. We were just talking about them the other day. You remember them, right? Of course. They're usually the folks that are, only remembering the Second Amendment whenever they're weighing out whichever amendment they want to erase first. Well, this time they've actually had an epiphany, a come to Jesus moment, if you will. And by Jesus, of course, I mean a 9mm Glock. That's right. The DOJ is opening a brand new section, the Second Amendment rights section. I know. It sounds too good to be true. It sounds like a joke, but to me, it kind of sounds like the TSA opening up a convenient travel section so that you can get through the airport faster. Or, here's another example, the IRS starting a division that says, we'll probably just let that one slide. And anyone who's owned a business or an LLC knows that shit ain't fucking happening. But check the calendar. Make sure it's not April 1st because this all feels a little weird. But this new unit is dedicated to investigating local laws that would violate your right to keep and bear arms. Finally, the government is creating a bureaucracy to protect us from government bureaucracy. Crazy, right? It's so beautifully American. We do this so good. We're fighting red tape with more red tape, except this time the red tape holding a musket, hopefully, allegedly. Now, this is all going to be part of the Civil Rights Division. The part for the last 60-odd years has been very, very busy protecting all sorts of constitutional rights, like the 1st, the 4th, the 14th. They've had a whole galaxy of rights to protect. But unfortunately, they've treated the Second Amendment like the weird uncle at the family reunion. They knew he was in the Constitution. They just hoped he'd stay in the basement and not embarrass anyone by telling off-color jokes. But now, Uncle Sam kicked the door in and he's coming upstairs and he's cleaning the Cosmoline off of his rifle and said, "All right, who's been messing with my stuff?" It's a direct result of a Trump executive order, which he's always been kind of waffly on the Second Amendment. But of course, that means the usual suspects are having meltdowns. You can hear the champagne corks boop in reverse in Martha's Vineyard because everyone's having a freak out moment. They're horrified. A government unit to protect our gun rights. That's not what the Civil Rights Division is for. No. Oh, really? So the right to protest is a civil right, but the right to protest while the other guy isn't sure if you're carrying? Well, that's just barbarism. That's barbaric. But this new section is apparently already getting to work. They're suing the LA County Sheriff's Department. Why? For creating a concealed carry permit process that moves with the speed and efficiency of a DMV run by sloths on Wolf of Wall Street level quaaludes. They've made a permit, or getting a permit, so difficult that it's easier just to get a PhD in astrophysics. And let's be honest, in a self-defense situation, whipping out your dissertation on quantum mechanics is, somewhat unsurprisingly, less effective than, well, the alternative. They're also taking on Illinois' assault weapons ban, the one, the Protect Illinois Communities Act, because nothing says we've protected our community like Chicago's weekend homicide report. They banned the scary assault-looking rifles, and the criminals, being the law-abiding scholars that they are, immediately turned in their illegally obtained handguns and took up knitting. It's been a resounding success. But here's where it gets oddly and really darkly funny. The schizophrenia of the modern federal government is on full display. It's like the DOJ has multiple personality disorder. Imagine that. One day, they're in court the brilliant Harmeet Dillon arguing for your right to defend your home in Hawaii. In Hawaii, you can't carry on private property unless the owner gives you explicit permission. They call it the vampire law. I guess because you have to be invited in, maybe? So if a criminal breaks into your favorite coffee shop, you have to stop, find the manager, and say, excuse me, sir, before I stop this gentleman who's stabbing the barista to death, could you just initial here, here, and here, giving me permission to protect our citizens? Thanks. But then, the very next day, the same DOJ is using an anti-gun lobby talking point to defend the National Firearms Act. In one case, they actually argued that short-barreled rifles, or SBRs, are easily concealable. Yeah, easily concealable. Have you seen the people who own these things? We're not exactly a nation of ninjas, for Christ's sake. They're trying to conceal a short-barrel rifle under a Hawaiian print shirt. What? That's like trying to conceal a bowling ball in your Speedo. Come on. It just doesn't make any sense. Oh, and then they demonize suppressors, you know, those Hollywood assassin quiet devices. Pew, pew. We use them to protect our hearing. Hunting and sport shooting, they're there to protect our hearing. Yes, there are people who use them for nefarious purposes, but give me a statistic, please. We can't have people practicing their marksmanship without going deaf. That just doesn't make any sense. It's a public safety crisis, or at least it is among the Second Amendment community, because, you know, next they'll be coming for our eyes next time, so that way we just have a whole bunch of lead particulate and atomized gases just blowing into our face. But, you know, hey, whatever. I'm sure there will be a 1-800-BAD-DRUG commercial in about 20 years talking about it. All right, back to it. A DOJ spokesperson even said the courts shouldn't have the power to overturn laws passed by Congress. And I nearly spat out my coffee when I read that, because someone needs to get this man a copy of Marbury v. Madison. It's only the foundation of our entire judicial system. It's like a NASA engineer saying, you know, I'm starting to rethink this whole gravity thing, guys. I don't know about it anymore. So, what are we to make of this? We have a new government division that's supposed to protect our gun rights, born from a government that often seems hell-bent on erasing them. It's like a pyromaniac operating and opening a fire department. You're grateful for the help, of course, but you're keeping a real close eye on the matches with this guy around. But is it a reason for hope? Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Finally, there's a dedicated team who's actually going to have a job to tell places like Hawaii and Illinois, no, you can't just pretend like the Bill of Rights is an a la carte menu. It doesn't fucking work that way. But it's also, on the other hand, a reason for extreme, unblinking skepticism. Or is it? You're damn right it is, actually. Trust, but verify. You know, we hear that all the time. And by verify, I mean keep your powder dry and your lawyer on speed dial. Just saying. Because, in the end, the Second Amendment isn't just about a government section or a bureaucratic department. No. It's the one right that ensures all others aren't just suggestions, because if the Second Amendment falls, the others are sure to fall right behind it. And the best protection for that will always be a wary, armed, and frankly amused citizenry that never forgets who they're dealing with.